Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Eric Chong from the Education University of Hong Kong. Today's topic is how to facilitate students understand their national identity and concern about national affairs from the Hong Kong Civic Education Teachers' Perception on National Education. This project is funded by General Research Fund of Hong Kong, and also we have got a team to work on this project. Civic education is important for cultivating next generation in Hong Kong as a special administrative region under China. Well, Hong Kong has got the Chinese national identity issue, which is a priority in Hong Kong after 1997. The Hong Kong SAR government allows the mandatory subject of moral and national educations for all primary school and secondary schools. But then after the protest in 2012, the government finally decided to shelve this moral and national education. Well, civic education has remained a non-mandatory subject, but then teachers are key players for implementing civic education in schools. So there's an imperative to understand teachers' perceptions on identity and teaching methods of national educations. Hong Kong young people has a higher level of local identity and low level of national identity, but Chinese authorities have repeatedly emphasized the need to strengthen national education in Hong Kong. Perplexing question is that civic education, which usually includes teaching about rights and responsibility and teaching of national identity, well, what is the national identity and national education as perceived by teachers, and how do they teach national education? So, how do the teachers perceive youth-related civic education issues in Hong Kong is a matter of urgency because it affects the teaching. This research aims to measure and understand the perceptions of Hong Kong secondary school teachers on the national identity and how do they teach national education after the anti-national education and also the Occupy Central movement. It will explore the relations between national education and citizenship education literature in order to fill in the gaps. And the social practice theory of identity will be tested, where identity reconcile the micro and the macro environment, and that the perceptions of national identity influence the understanding of national educations, which in turn influence the perceptions of teaching national educations. So this project is 2 year, started from January 2018 to December 2019. The central question is how to facilitate students understand their national identity and concern about national affairs from the teacher's viewpoint. But this project, we have 4 supplementary questions. First, what are teachers' understanding of national identity and national education aims, contents, and pedagogies? Second, how do they perceive the relationship between national education and civic education? Number 3, what is the perceived understanding on the facilitating and also hindering factors of implementing national educations? And finally, is there a possibility for develop a conceptual model of the relationship between perception of national education and the teaching of national education based on the quantitative data on teachers' perceptions? For the literature, well, first of all, national identity refers to feelings that one has towards one emergent community, the fundamental features of which include a homeland, a common myth, and a common mass public culture. And then national identity developed when a group of people identify with each other to share common heritage and language, common legal rights and duties, as well as living in a homeland. As a result of the reconfigurations between national identity and local distinctiveness, Hong Kong people showed the identifications with different identities after 1997, including Chinese Hong Kongers, Chinese Hong Kongers, and Hong Kong Chinese. So the consciousness of national identity helps the arising of nationalism. In the Asian context, national education pursues to instill a sense of belonging and national identity in younger people, with an intention to cultivate national pride and commitment. In Hong Kong, national education refers to the cultivation of nationalistic belongingness and identifications. Learn and Print proposed 5 topologies of nationalism to conceptualize teacher understanding of national education in Hong Kong, including cosmopolitan, civic, anti-colonial, cultural, and authoritarian nationalism. So this research based on learns and prints typologies to explore nowadays Hong Kong teachers' perceptions on national education. And two more typologies, namely unity and local nationalism, have been added to reflect the current development of Hong Kong society. These are the five typologies, including two new typologies that I have been using in this project. First of all, cosmopolitan nationalism, believe that all human beings are created equal, show respect for basic human rights, and civic nationalism, which emphasize the equal rights of individuals regardless of their race, gender, languages, and also their political practices. Cultural nationalism defines the nations in terms of common culture, and unification nationalism extracts from the cultural nationalism, which emphasizes China as a united nation. Anti-colonial nationalism, which has a strong element of opposing and foreign, oppressive, and also imperialist colonial regimes. Authoritarian nationalism, and also the local nationalisms. These are the seven typologies. This is the literature review. Group discussion of controversial issues, and affective approach are commonly used methods in civic and national education. According to Learn, affective approach refers to the participatory and experiential activities which help students to learn through touching upon their emotion to arouse their sentiments, such as flag-raising ceremony and exchange tour. Affective approach means positive and also negative approaches. Bright sides of the nations and the negative sides of the nations shall be discussed, and after the activities, teachers need to arrange discussion for students to reflect on what they have learned. This research is a mixed method design, adopting survey, in-depth interviews, and focus group interviews as triangulations. Surveys is a research method using questionnaire to collect data, and the targets are moral and civic and national education teachers in all secondary schools in Hong Kong, assuming that there will be 4 questionnaires which were mailed to each secondary school, and then the questionnaire consists of 2 main sessions. And session 1 includes 7 items on personal particulars. Session 2 include 96 5-point Likert scale item on teachers' perceptions of national identity. So far, there have been 601 questionnaire returned from 198 schools with a responding rate of 33%, and also the responding rate is 43% from school. About the in-depth interview, which is a research method to explore the perceptions, values, attitudes, and viewpoints of people, about 40 teachers have been purposely sampled for the in-depth interview, who show typicality in the 7 typologies, and they are from 5 subsidy types of school in the survey. The in-depth interviews ask for their viewpoints on national education and national identity. And then the session 1 and session 2, they ask about the understanding and perceptions of the participants on the aims, content, and pedagogy. Focus group interviews have been performed with the stakeholders such as the parents and students. They are seeking the viewpoints of them on the national educations, on what sort of factors affecting national educations in Hong Kong. These presentations will present the preliminary findings from the survey. The respondents come from the 198 schools, and there were 601 questionnaires. Roughly, there were half of them coming from male and another half come from female. And then they usually have more than 10 years of teaching experience. And 45% of them serves as members of relevant committee or groups related to national education or civic education. So the subjects are liberal studies, Chinese language, and Chinese history. And they come from different types of government school and aided school and direct subsidy schools. And they also come from different religious type of schools in Hong Kong. So the research question number 1, which is the what are the teachers' understanding of national identity and their aims on the contents and pedagogies. So teacher understanding of the nationality so that majority of them, about 66% of them, say they are Hong Kongese, and the rest of 33% say that they are Chinese. For the teacher's understanding and teaching methods of national education, we have used the method of exploratory factor analysis. So only 4 topologies of nationalisms were thoroughly extracted under EFA. They are the cultural nationalism, civic and local nationalism, authoritarian nationalism, unification nationalism, cosmopolitan nationalism. These are the topologies of Hong Kong teachers nowadays when they teach and understand national educations. And then 2 teaching methods are extracted. They are the group discussions and also affective approach. These 2 methods are identified as the teaching methods of civic education teachers in Hong Kong when they teach national education. This slide shows more about the extracted item under the exploratory factor analysis. So the typologies here include the civic and local nationalism, cultural nationalism, unification nationalism, authoritarianism, and also cosmopolitan nationalism. The 2 methods are group discussion and also affective approaches. So you can see the items here, and you can see that the number of the items have been assigned in different or in different numbers, so that actually when the respondent answer the question, they may not easy to tell which typologies they are answering from. But then when we group them together, then we can tell that they are answering in such kind of thinking. This is the answer to the research question 1, teacher understanding of national educations. The higher means represent the more common understanding. First, number 1, it is the cultural nationalism, which means the teacher usually teach cultures and language. Second, teachers in Hong Kong, they teach about cosmopolitan nationalism, which reflect a cosmopolitan view when they teach their students. Number 3, civic and local nationalism, which means the teachers teach about the civic responsibility and rights. Unification nationalism means unity between Hong Kong and China. Authoritarian nationalism means they will usually adopt more state-centered views. So these teachers' teaching methods were also extracted in NS. Teaching activity. Here, I also report about the means. The higher means represent more frequency of use as reported by the questionnaire respondents. Well, number 1 is sharing of current events, which tell us about the Hong Kong teachers. They think that current events can be taught in national education. Second, exchange tour. In Hong Kong, teachers arrange the students to go to different parts of China for an exchange tour and to interact with mainland Chinese students and also to visit some historical sites in China. Number 3, patriotic ceremonies in the school, such as flag raising ceremony and singing national anthem in the schools of Hong Kong. We have also included a question about how do they perceive the relationship between national education and civic education literature. And interestingly, it tells us something about the diversified viewpoints among the teachers. You can see that for those teachers who say they disagree with national education should be the focus of civic education after the return of sovereignty of Hong Kong to China, there will be around 27% of the teachers. And for the teachers who agree with saying that national education should be the focus after the return of sovereignty of Hong Kong to China, there will be around 39% of them who would agree with such kind of saying. For the research question number 4, I have included here about the findings of the relationship between teachers' perception of national identity and the perceptions of national education. We can see that for the teachers who adopt the, for example, here about the cultural nationalism, we can see that the group between Chinese and Hong Kongese, they show significant difference between them in red color. And then again in red color, we can see that the groups of teachers who identify themselves as Chinese are significantly different than those teachers who identify themselves as Hong Kongese. So you can tell something about between the identity and the perceptions of national education here. This slide tells you about the method of using structural equation modeling when we apply it to construct a model. You can see that, for example, on the left-hand side, the top left-hand side, civic and local nationalism usually have a more loading towards the group discussions. while it has a lower or insignificant loading to the affective approach. Whereas the cultural nationalism, there will be both types of relationship, significant findings of group discussions and also affective approaches. Well, I shall include in another slide to show you more about the relationship between them. So statistically, teacher understanding of national education can significantly influence their teaching methods in national educations. For example, again here, we can see that for some types of national education understanding, they will prefer to use group discussions. But then for the affective approach, and you can see that only the cultural unification and cosmopolitan nationalism, they will prefer um, using the affective approach when they teach national educations. I have briefly included here about the interview result, which is the questions for number 2. How do they perceive the relationship between national education and civic education? To supplement the figures just now, there will be different perceptions. Some interviewees say that national education is within civic education. Some said that civic education is within national educations under a nation. Some others say that it is just different between them. And for research question number 1, how do they perceive the teaching methods? There will be several examples, such as informing student different perspective, balanced viewpoint approach, experiential learning, linking local, national, and global perspective, and low avoidance of controversial issues. Well, it is a summary. Hong Kong teachers have divergent views on whether national education should be the focus of civic education. Hong Kong civic education teachers are less likely to understand national education from the perspective of anti-colonial nationalism. They are also less likely to adopt the method of discussion of controversial issues when teaching national education. Also, statistically, teachers' perception of national identity can significantly influence their understanding of national education. Teachers who identify themselves as Chinese are more likely to teach the contents of cultural nationalism and unification nationalism in national education, rather than their peers who identify themselves as Hong Kongese. Some more findings here. The male teachers are more likely to teach the content of civic and local nationalism, cultural nationalism, unifications, and cosmopolitan nationalism in national education than female. Teaching experience also matter. Teachers with 10 years or less teaching experience are more likely to teach the content of civic and local nationalism and cosmopolitan nationalism. Young teachers also are more likely to use the method of discussion in teachings. School sponsoring body, such as religious versus non-religious school. For example, teachers in religious school are more likely to teach the content of civic and local nationalism than those other schools. And school sponsoring body, we can also say that the teachers in Christianity school are more likely to teach the content of civic and local nationalism. So, in summary, sharing of current events, exchange tour, and patriotic ceremonies are the 3 most frequently used activities of teaching national education in Hong Kong schools. The government schools are more likely to use diversified teaching activities because they are the government schools, so they using different methods to teach national education. And also the background of the teachers can also be a matter. Female teachers who tend to teach the content of national education will usually use cultural, civic, and local and cosmopolitanism, and they are also more likely to use the method of group discussions. And finally, teachers who tend to teach the content of cultural nationalism, unification nationalism, and cosmopolitan nationalism are more likely to use the method of affective approach in teaching.